Hello, Lasagna Club. Thank you so much for coming along on this ride with us. We're diving into the first iteration of Lasagna Club, so we're going to jump right into our Chardonnay here. So if you're part of our wine club, I mean, you probably already like Chardonnay, and if you don't like Chardonnay, you're probably open to liking Chardonnay. And so we wanted to start you off with something super delicious. So Chardonnay, in its classical homes around the world, we probably think mostly about California here in British Columbia because we are so exposed to that market. But when I think about classical Chardonnay home, I inevitably gravitate to France, in particular the Chardonnays from Burgundy. So Burgundy is a little strip of land in sort of central eastern France. And in the case of Rully, we're talking about a village just south of the limestone escarpment of the Côte d'Or. The Côte d'Or, obviously super famous strip of land, both for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Some of the most expensive Pinot Noir in the whole region is grown there. So when we talk about red Burgundy, we're talking about Pinot Noir, and we're talking about white Burgundy, we're usually talking about Chardonnay. So Rully is a little bit more open and a little bit more exposed to the elements. It's a little bit farther south, and so it ends up being a little warmer than what you'd find in traditional Burgundy. In particular, in 2015, the vintage that we've got here, we're talking about a very warm vintage. So no trouble achieving the ripeness levels that you want to really find in expressive ripe Chardonnay. But at the same time, those kind of cooling breezes help mitigate too much heat, which is going to drive too much alcohol into the wine. And so you end up with a really well-balanced, beautiful Chardonnay here. When we talk about Chardonnay, obviously climate and oak treatment are going to be two major contributors to the Chardonnay that you're drinking. So when we're talking about cooler climate Chardonnay, we're going to think about kind of greener expressions of apple. Granny Smith apple, like those really green, crunchy apples that you want to make apple pie out of. And as you approach the riper spectrums of Chardonnay, things like, you might find in California or in the south of France, you're going to end up with those really, really warmer climates. And so you get that really golden, delicious apple, really ripe, kind of crunchy, verging on like tropical fruits as well. You've got like mango and roasted pineapple, things like that in your Chardonnays. This one sort of falls squarely down the center of the spectrum here. So, you're definitely leaning into maybe like an unripe, golden, delicious apple. And I think that that's a pretty good way of measuring the overall ripeness when we're tasting Chardonnay. It certainly is what I'm looking for when I'm tasting Chardonnay blind. I want to assess sort of what kind of climate I think it's from, and that's going to help me decide where I think it's going to be from. The other thing we talk about with Chardonnay is oak treatment. And I think that we've all had pretty bad experiences in our time with over-oaked, underproduced Chardonnay, or overproduced, depending on how you look at it. Chardonnay is one of those grapes where, you get what you pay for. If you're looking for inexpensive, cheap wine, maybe you should look somewhere other than Chardonnay. In this case, we're talking about a very well-made Chardonnay. The oak profile on this is pretty minimal. So oak, in this case, is used as more of a textural sort of element than it is for flavor. What that means is when you put wine into a barrel, sure, like you think about like oak flavor, but that really is only brand new barrels that kind of do that. In the case of older barrels that have been used 2 or 3 times or more, you put the wine into the barrel, and what happens is the barrel slowly breathes as you get barometric pressure, kind of pulling wine into the staves and then pushing it back out. And so you're allowing slight exposure to oxygen and richness as well. So that contributes to the richness to the wine. Not a lot of oak flavor here. This is only 10% in barrel, and the rest is done in stainless steel, and the barrels are not new. So again, it just helps add that little bit of richness to the wine. So 2015 Rully, I hope you enjoy, and we look forward to chatting with some more wine.